Hello and welcome to the What Women Want Today podcast. You might be asking yourself right about now, well, what do women want? I mean, we're pretty complex creatures, right? Well, I think we want it all, and I'm here to explore it with you. My name is Terry Kellums. I'm your host. Go grab your favorite beverage. I've already got my glass of wine, and let's get started. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the What Women Want Today podcast. My name is Terry Kellums, and today I am joined by James and Claire Davis of the Midlife Mentors podcast and of 3 Degrees North. I'm so happy to have both of you with me today. How are you?
Oh, we're very well.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for having us, Terry. It's great to be here.
It is a pleasure. I'm glad we got the time zone thing worked out today.
Yes.
Those pesky time zones.
Yes. So many moments that we've had where you're like, I'm online, Claire, and I'm not, because we've got our time wrong again.
Well, it's good. It's all good. So you guys, I am so excited about our conversation today. I feel like we have so many things in common. But before we jump in, I just want to hear a little bit about your background. Each one of you, I know you have a very long list of credentials, and I'd like all the listeners to know what you guys have done before you got to this point.
Wow.
James, would you like to start?
Well, it's scary, isn't it? The older you get, the longer the background.
True.
We'll be here for about 6 years.
So basically, well, I set up 38 Degrees North back in 2012, I think it was, in Ibiza, and it was a fitness holiday company. We basically wanted to create a new style of retreat. It was about working the body out, but also coaching with the mind as well, and wasn't the old thing of like, oh, we're just going to feed you a bit of rice and beef stew. It was like, no, we're going to have a luxury hotel. There's healthy food, you can eat what you want, you can have drinks if you want, and it's all about empowering tools to go forward. So we kind of grew that. I was married at the time.
Not to me.
Not to Claire.
There's a twist. Not twist.
We got separated, divorced, and then Claire came into my life. And then together, we've gone from strength to strength, created the Midlife Mentors. So the Midlife Mentors really leverages like our joint backgrounds. I'll let Claire talk about hers, but my background is I studied psychology at university. I've got a BA and a master's in applied psychology. Also qualifications in coaching, nutrition, gut health. I'm a personal trainer. So kind of bringing all those elements together, with what the retreats are doing. The retreats actually were very useful to us. We got to train thousands and thousands of people, which means you get like great experience and case studies, and you see the similar patterns and things that they're presenting. And then about 2 years ago,
just over now, 2.5 years ago,
we were like, let's we're both at that age now. Let's start specializing in midlife, and let's show people that it's not the beginning of the end. It's the chance to embrace the second act with joy and live it healthily and happily, and really decide who and what you want to be for this amazing second part of our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. So that started with the Midlife Mentors podcast that you mentioned. That was 2009, early 2019, which seems like a million years ago now. That was just James and I kind of wanting to share our knowledge, our fun side, and our passion for helping midlifers. And then that just went from strength to strength. And I think we're in the top 1.5% of global podcasts now, which we're thrilled about because we don't monetize it. We just get on there. We have some guests and we have banter and lots of fun. So that's the Midlife Mentors. But my background, so I actually started off in PR. My first job was at Harrods. Absolutely hated it for years and years. So about 14, 15 years, I hated what I did. So tried so many different things, but because of a lack of self-confidence and this old thing that I always talk about, imposter syndrome, I would start a business. I became a life coach, a stress management consultant, NLP. So I did all these things quite young because I knew I wanted to help people that was reach their potential. But I lost confidence in myself each time I set up a new business or wanted to go for it. And I kept going back into PR. And it was only finally when I went through my divorce and then actually was put on antidepressants, it made me really look at my health. So actually, at that point, I was kind of more into the mindset stuff, but I looked at nutrition and training. And that's when I was like, I found my thing here. So I qualified in all of that. And then now, like James was saying, is we now combine all the mindset, so the emotional well-being, the physicality, the nutrition, everything all in one package. So when we found each other, it all kind of came together.
Magic.
Yes. And then, you know, for me, I wanted to find a way to not be on antidepressants. And, you know, I'm not anti them, they save lives. But for me, the whole finding nutrition, gut health, hormones, exercise, looking at all of that and how it really helped me actually come off them. That was my passion, about helping other people regain their power, giving other people lifestyle tools that can help them in mind, body, and soul.
I love that. I love that you guys, and actually it was one of the questions I planned on asking you today, was why you decided to work with midlife people. But I actually love what you said, James. Like, I think, you know, society in the past has painted midlife as just sort of this slowing down period for a lot of people. You know, let's settle in, let's invest in a rocking chair and just, you know, sit in front of the TV all day. And that is not me. I am not a TV rocking chair kind of girl. And I'm loving midlife. And I think that's probably what drew us together, was this common interest in seeing midlife people thrive. I mean, if you've had a family, this is the time of your life probably where your family doesn't need you as much anymore. And all of a sudden you have this opportunity to really focus in on yourself and what your passions are and what your purpose is and what brings you fulfillment. And I'm so excited that the three of us share that philosophy, and that you're helping people, because what you guys do, I mean, obviously you have so much knowledge between the two of you. What you're doing is really connecting all the dots.
Yeah. That's a lovely thing for you to say, because I do feel that's the result that most people get from going through our program, working with us, whether it's the group one or the one-to-one, is, you know, they do get an inside out transformation and they understand themselves a lot better. So awareness precedes change. What you're not aware of, you can't change. So people aren't even aware, they're just on autopilot, and then they get to a stage in their life and they're not happy and they're not fulfilled, and they've got all these things in their life, the status, the material things, the husband, that whatever, all these things that they thought were going to make them happy, and then they get to this midlife point and they're like, oh my goodness, like, I don't know why I'm not happy. And it's because there's like a lack of, they're not giving themselves permission to look at themselves and prioritize themselves, but they don't have awareness of why they aren't very happy, or that they don't feel comfortable in their own skin, or that they're sluggish, or all these things. And that's hopefully what we do with our program, is touch on the mental side of things, like the belief systems that we have, the self-identity, the feelings of fear, the imposter, the inner critic, all that sort of stuff, as well as working on the physical and the nutrition.
Yeah. Oh, I see that. That, you know, little guy or woman sitting on your shoulder in so many people. Well, who do you think you are to do this at this point in your life? Well, what makes you think that you can be successful at, you know, hosting a podcast, Terry, or James and Claire? What makes you think you can move from the UK to Spain and start a whole new chapter of your life? You know, and we have to just flick that little guy or girl off our shoulder like all the time, because the brain wants to be negative. The brain wants you to stay exactly where you are in your little comfort zone, in your comfortable little world, and not grow and stretch. And I think that's where so many people get caught up, is they want something, they're not quite sure what it is. And then that little thing whispering in their ear says, don't you just want to keep doing what you're doing? It's safe.
It's exactly it. You know, you've hit the nail on the head there. We must remember, like, by midlife, we've got this like bundle of habits, beliefs, behaviors, and we tend to think of them as fixed. We're like, well, this is the person that I am now. What we need to understand is, like, we have a choice. We decide what we want to go for, and then model our new beliefs, our new behaviors around that goal, and literally step into that person, become that person, and achieve what you want to achieve. You know, and I think a lot of people get stuck because they're just like, oh, you know, I've ended up just sat on the couch watching TV, eating junk food. This is it now. No, I mean, that's just your conditioning from whenever to now. But tomorrow's always a new day. You can start to change that stuff, and start to make new choices and better choices, and even step into a new identity that's going to align you with the success that you want. And that's what we help people do.
Yeah, and it's so true. I've seen it in myself. It's something I see in myself, see in James, see in all of our clients. It's 80% mindset. So, you know, this is where most people do go wrong, is that they're constantly trying to do something different. It's all external. It's looking at external things, doing something different so I become different. But it's the completely wrong way round. It's like you have to kind of become something in your own mind and believe it and actually start adapting your habits and your behavior, and then you become the person with the doing so that they're aligned, so they're congruent. So your actions and your belief systems are aligned. That's how you create powerful, long-lasting change.
Absolutely. And so, you know, this podcast is the first podcast of the brand new year, 2022. And so often people are going to set that goal or set that resolution that says, this is the year. This is the year that I am going to become healthier, lose weight, whatever they're telling themselves. But how can they set themselves up for success? So we kind of started going down that path a little bit. Let's go there for a couple of minutes. How do you take that person who has that desire so strongly at the beginning of the year? How do you keep them going?
Strong why?
It's a strong why. It's so common, you know. Everyone makes those resolutions. I think the stats are, I think it's by mid-February. There's actually a date, isn't there, they've identified, where most people stop going. Which I get, right? You've gone, oh, I'm starting the year. I'm going to become this new person. I'm going to lose that weight, build that business, and it's hard. So 6 weeks in, you're kind of like, man, this is too hard. And yeah, you've got that inner voice going, oh, just take it easy. Just go and put the TV on instead.
Or you failed again. You failed again.
What we need to realise is, like, first of all, we need to have a real emotional connection to our goal. There's no use doing flippant, like going, oh, I just want to lose some weight. That's great, but why do you want to lose it? Dig into it. Is it because, like, carrying that weight means you're not liking what you see in the mirror, which means that you're losing your confidence, which means then you're not putting yourself out there as much as you would do. Maybe you start to feel your relationship suffering. Really get in and connect with the emotion of why you want the change. Number one, that why, the powerful why, the emotional connection is the thing that's going to get you going. Once you have that, something we do, like for all of NLP, is something called future rehearsal. So spend time envisioning yourself at a point in the future when you've achieved that goal. But really close your eyes, use as much of your imagination as you can, like bring in all the senses, you know, sight, sound, you know, what are you wearing, who are you with, how are people reacting to you. Really importantly, though, how are you feeling? What's the emotion there? And the more you rehearse that, the more you're priming your subconscious to make that the pathway you're going to take. I'd say on a practical side, most of us make these resolutions, but then fail to do the plan behind it, right? So we're all used to probably doing plans. If we've been working or a business environment, you know, you've got, oh, I've got to do my plan, the smart goal. We don't do it for our personal life, which is crazy. So if you want to lose weight, start to get specific, like how much you want to lose, by when, how are you going to do it? What are the new beliefs and behaviors you need to achieve it? And start breaking that down into achievable steps. And you've got actually, you know, a plan or a roadmap to get to your destination rather than just having this amorphous goal of some sort.
I'd also say make sure that you've got a good team around you, get some accountability. You know, get a buddy, whether that is a coach, whether that's someone in your family, anyone that can help you stay accountable. And like, if you feel comfortable sharing why it's really, really important to you, so that they help keep you on track. One of the other things I would say, you know, we really dive into belief systems. So actually understanding what your obstacles, this is really, really key. Understanding what obstacles are going to come up in your way, because it's not going to be plain sailing. So understanding what they are before they come up and having a plan to navigate them is really essential. And one of the biggest things that's going to come up is yourself. You need to get out of your own way. It's kind of understanding what that negative Nancy in your head is saying and rewriting a script for yourself for when the going gets tough, that you've got some affirmations to go to, that you've got a new script to go to that is rewiring and rehardwiring the brain, because we know from neuroscience that we can 100% reprogram our mind. It's neuroplasticity. So we know that we can do that with certain tools. So understanding what is holding you back, which is you, and having a plan to navigate that is really, really important. Awareness is most of the game one, you know, knowing what's going on, what your triggers are, what your behavior is, what belief systems are driven behind that.
It's your story. It's the story that you've told yourself about who you are and what you're capable of. And what I always love to say is, you know, you're the author.
Yeah.
You're the one writing the story. So let's just flip the
Write
page.
the next chapter. So write the one you want.
Yeah. And one of the things we always say, Terry, and it really struck me when I first heard this, so it's something we've adopted, goodness knows where from, but you cannot outperform your own self-identity.
Yeah.
So get to know what your self-identity is, the awareness piece, get to know why you keep self-sabotaging, what's going on there, what's the self-identity, so that you can start writing a new story.
Right. So are you kind of talking about, in some sense, are you talking about like triggers, like things that kind of get you off the path of where you're trying to go? Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Triggers
I
are
would
like
say triggers are a signpost to learning. You might get a random event like someone cuts you up in the car. That's a trigger, but it's just an annoying thing. If you're seeing certain things, there's certain themes that are triggering you all the time. That's a clue to something you need to go back and look at in yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And work on.
Yeah, and again, we talk about the trigger, how it comes up in the body, how it shows up in the body. So what your body does when you get triggered, that's how you know whether it's a positive or negative trigger. And then what your behavior is, what happens, and then what the belief system is behind that, so that you can start really being conscious of the trigger, changing the behavior, but essentially understanding what the belief system is you need to look at and start shifting that it underpins it all.
Yeah, I could not agree more with that statement, because when I'm working with a coaching client and she or he, mostly she, I don't think I've maybe worked with one or two men over the time, but I'll say, and she's telling me a story about something, and I'll say, well, how's your body feeling?
Yeah.
What's your posture like? Are your shoulders up around your ears? Is your breathing heavy? Do you have a feeling in the pit of your stomach? Like, tell me about how your body feels when you're telling me this story, as you're replaying it from the actual scene that it actually happened in. That's a big clue. That's a big clue to start paying attention to your body signals. I love that.
Yes, and actually just the way that we live our life now, we're so disconnected from being grounded in our body, listening to our body. Everything's so automatic. We even eat completely unconsciously. Nothing is very conscious. The connection to our body, and technology's kind of made it even worse. We were having this conversation about watches, fitness watches, and all these sorts of things. People, they're good. They're really good to motivate and inspire people. Don't get me wrong, but some people can get obsessed with it and then use that piece of technology to tell them how their body's working or how it's feeling. So again, it's another way of disconnecting with how it feels. How does it feel to you? How did that workout feel to you? How's the day felt? How did that sleep feel to you, without looking at a watch saying, oh, that's what sleep I've had. This is how it's telling me I'm feeling. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And also, when you were saying that, I was thinking the same with the scale. You can be right on your game, setting all your goals and hitting everything, doing your workouts, eating healthy, sleeping, having the great mindset. And then you step on that scale and it says you weigh a pound or two more than what you thought it should. And it deflates your whole mindset. Yeah, it's crazy.
We call it the sad step.
Yeah. We're not a big fan of the scales.
No,
no,
it's about it's about how comfortable you feel in your own skin. Health isn't a dress size. It's about how comfortable you feel in your skin. So yeah, completely agree on that.
So you both shared that you went through divorce, and I went through divorce in around 2010, 2011, and I went on what I call the divorce diet, which is you totally lose your appetite and you lose a shit ton of weight. But I lost like 55 pounds, and I needed to lose some of it. Some of it was excess, but for sure. But then I got too skinny, and I did become obsessed. I became obsessed with that number on the scale a little bit. And if I'm being really, really honest and transparent, which I always try to do on my podcast, there was a lot of things going on in my life, and that was the thing I thought I could control.
Yes.
Yes. I would see that number, and this is kind of really gross, to be honest with you, but I would reach down and I would grab my hip bone and I would see how much I could feel of it. And it became like a weird thing. Like I can't control this thing that's going on with my job. I can't control this thing that's going on with my personal life and many different relationships, but I can choose not to eat. I can choose to deprive myself of things and just continue to drop this weight. And
resonates with me.
Does it?
So much. I started that behavior when I was 19, and it didn't really, and it was one thing it was a form of punishment for me, but it was also a form of, a self-loathing. I hate, there's going on, a real self-loathing, a real lack of self-worth. So I thought I'll punish myself, but at the same time, it was the only thing I control. It was mine. It was the only thing I could control.
And I had a couple of people tell me that I was getting way too thin, and I rejected that. I was like, no, that's not true.
It's actually the worst thing. I was happy when people said that. I was like, good, it's working. I'm glad people can see that, I'm at least good at something.
Yeah.
I'm good at being skinny.
Yeah, that's so true. I never thought about it like that, Claire, but I looked at my wedding pictures because I was at my very lowest right about the time I got remarried. And that was my wake-up call. I looked at some pictures around that time in my life, and I was like, oh my gosh, I did not look good. I thought I did.
Yeah.
I thought the low number on the scale equated to how good I looked on the outside, but on the inside, I was so unhealthy. Not only with my thoughts, but I had stomach issues. I wasn't sleeping. Like I was a hot mess.
Oh, bless you.
Well, you experienced that as well with your divorce.
Yeah, I did. I basically went into punishment mode, just like
awful.
Overtraining my body.
It was awful
really
seeing you.
And I was like, this is brilliant. Oh, I'm so ripped. Everyone's just like, you look terrible.
Yeah. Well, we were friends first. So we were friends. And, really interestingly, when I got divorced, this is a standing joke because it's so good that our relationship can be like this. But James, when he saw me after my divorce, he was like, whoa, Claire's put on loads of weight. I put on loads, actually.
You did.
And it was all alcohol, just drinking loads of alcohol. But then when I saw him, after he'd gone through his relationship breakup, I was like, oh my goodness, you look utterly ill. But it's so interesting that we saw each other before that. Then we saw, the impact that was happening to us through the divorces, and then we got together.
Well, what's interesting about you two, and when I listen to you and your banter and you're going back and forth and teasing each other. And so you really have seemed to, in midlife, found this very wonderful, special relationship. I think it comes through when you watch you on YouTube, or if you're listening to you on the podcast, or if I see you on Instagram. So tell me a little bit about how you guys met, and how did you go from friends to marriage to running this business together and moving to Spain? Let's hear a little bit about that story.
So,
well, you'll see the latest reel that I did where it was very obvious that I stood him up.
Yeah.
We did
I could see that one.
So we've been friends for a while, and then we hadn't seen each other. I think about a year almost. And obviously my marriage broke up, and we didn't know each other's marriages had broken up at pretty much the same time. I was in Ibiza, Claire was in the UK. And it was about 3, 4, 5 months after that we found out that each other was separated and single. And then I was desperate to get Claire out to Ibiza, so I did. But she was very naughty. She just kept sending me up on dates. I'd fly to London to meet her, and then I wouldn't be able to get hold of her, and then I'd get a text going, no date.
No, that was like, now you're listeners, I am not a horrible, mean person. I was just going through a lot of trauma.
But we saw it through. So we actually we kind of had something, and then left it, parked it, and then after a while we just found each other again, and then it just felt so right that time, and it's just gone from there. Really.
Well, I invited after all of that, all those shenanigans. I then invited him to go for a date, and that was in Soho House in London. Which is very special to us. It's where we went for our honeymoon night, and where you proposed as well. So I invited him on a date, and then from that point onwards, once I'd done kind of my own healing, and also there were a lot of people that didn't want us to get together. Didn't want us to get together. So once I put everyone else's opinions aside, it was a real learning for me. Everyone else's opinions aside, and just went for it. And then there was no stopping us. I was moving over to Ibiza within a couple of months. Everyone thought I was crazy.
It's just gone from there, really.
Yeah.
It's funny. I met my husband obviously in midlife as well. And I think I actually talked about this on the podcast, because I I saw your post about thanking your thank you letter to your life, and it really like touched me. And I wrote actually a podcast and recorded a podcast episode about it last week. And I said in there, you know, that I don't know that my husband would have been in love with the person I was before I went through all of that. You know what I mean? And so I feel like, you know, meeting somebody, well, you guys were friends first, but meeting somebody in midlife almost is like they're getting the real you, because I feel like women find their voice in midlife much more so than, you know, their 20s or 30s. So Claire, do you see a difference in yourself in the way that you project yourself out to the world now in midlife than you did when you were younger?
Good grief.
Yeah.
Oh, like the pain. We did a podcast on this about confidence and everything, and that was born out of a post that I did about confidence and the pain, constantly wanting to deliver something in the world, not from an ego place, but from a place of, this is what I'm born here to do. I'm born here to serve and help other people feel amazing about themselves and reach their potential. That is what I'm here to do. And for 16 years, there was all this like turmoil inside me of just stopping myself because I didn't have the confidence within myself. I was scared to be seen and heard. I hadn't dealt with some of the traumas that I had been through. And, you know, I would say actually meeting James, I did step into my power before getting together with James. I really, really did. I made some insane decisions, powerful decisions, like leaving my job, going back to minimum wage, working in a gym, you know, wiping sweat off of gym equipment because I knew what I found my thing. So I was stepping into my power, but it wasn't until I met James, worked through a hell of a lot more baggage, worked on myself, and then this guy allows me to shine, and he's not afraid of me. And that's what I've always felt like. If I shone too brightly, I'm taking something away from someone else.
Wow, very powerful, Claire.
You help. James helps me shine because I know I'm safe to, and that's the thing. You know, men and women, you know, it's about safety. It's about not feeling safe to express ourselves because, you know, we might seem egotistical, we might seem too much, we're too much, we're too loud, we're too powerful, we're too passionate. And I don't feel like I'm any of those things. Even this rant that I'm going on now, I'm listening. James is listening to this and he loves it. And I know that is a safe place for me to be myself.
I love that. So James, do men go through something similar when they hit midlife? Do you come into a different place mentally inside your head that you feel like you're finally the person that you've been working towards your whole life?
For me, yeah, sure. I mean, I think it's a tricky phase for a lot of men. I think a lot of men that I speak to actually end up losing their confidence a bit, because I think that's tied up maybe with the male menopause and the psychological impact there. They start to doubt themselves a bit. But for me, I spent a lot of time when I was younger, like Claire, I guess, I was very concerned with what other people thought. You know, what will their opinion be? What other people think? What other people think? You know what? Whether you do or you don't, someone's going to have an opinion on you anyway. So you might as well do the thing you want to do.
Yeah. I love that.
And that's where I got to. By the time I met Claire, I kind of felt my divorce shocked my confidence, but I was building it back up again. And, you know, now I'm in the place where I'm just not afraid to do stuff. I'm confident in my own skin. Yeah, I'm not afraid to let Claire shine. I love seeing her shine because I don't feel threatened by it. Because, you know, I'm comfortable standing in my own power. I'm not too worried about other people's opinions. I'll just do what I want anyway. But I know for a lot of people, it can be a tricky time. And again, it's often they can find themselves, all three of us here, if we're on this thing of coming to a divorce point, and you almost have to rethink and restart your life. I'm sure you had this. You have to rethink about who you are and what you do want going forward, and like, you know, maybe like a bit of why did that not play out right for me? What can I learn from it? And where do I go from here? But I think if you've been in a long-term relationship without those kind of things happening, sometimes you can feel like I've actually lost a bit of my identity here. I've settled, I've compromised for a long time, and actually now I don't know who I am. Particularly, I think of the age, you're probably given a lot of yourself to raising a family, pursuing your career. And for a lot of people, they're kind of questioning, like, well, actually, who am I and what do I want? And I think the pandemic and, putting people locked up at home for a long time has just kind of exacerbated that. Certainly, we've seen that. People were so busy before, I get up, I feed the kids, I go to work, I get back, I watch TV for an hour and go to bed. But now suddenly they're like locked up at home. They're like, oh my God, am I even enjoying this job that I'm doing, that I'm like remote working on? What do I want to do with my life? And I just want to reinforce to everyone that however you're feeling, midlife is a time when you can take charge and just make such amazing changes. And you still got half your life left. Like, use it.
Yeah.
One of the things I want to say as well about the male-female dynamic when we get to midlife, what you touched on, Terry, is that women do actually start finding their voice, their power, their potential, their purpose, their passion, and the men can get quite threatened by that. Is the dynamic that we see, because you might have, as a woman, you've been juggling lots of things. You might have had a career, you might have had your family as well. But at this time of life, I work with a lot of women that are finding their voice and are opening themselves up to be seen and heard. And the men are like, whoa, what is this? I'm feeling threatened and confused here. I'm feeling left behind. And then that's there.
Men, don't be threatened. Let your woman shine and just love her for it.
Yeah. Because the more threatened they are, and the more the woman's going to push it away. It's all about ourselves and our own journey. So men, step into your power, step into your purpose. That's how you're going to keep the flame alive. That's how you're not going to feel threatened, is to focus on yourself.
I agree. So here's a question for you two. Since you do have this business together and obviously cohabitate together, do you ever stop talking about your business and just have James and Claire without the business talk?
Try
to. We even have rules. We try and set like kind of informal rules about after a certain time we won't talk about it. If we're doing like a date night, we just don't talk about it. If we're doing a date weekend, we just went to Seville last weekend, which is amazing. We don't talk about work, but it's hard because it's our passion. We love it. So suddenly you'll be like, get a flash of inspiration. You're like, oh, I just had this idea. What do you think? But we've got the point now as well. You come to say, you know what, that sounds great, but let's park it for now and pick it up when we're back in work mode. Because it is, if you're working together as a couple, it's really important to make that distinction between work and play and make sure you're getting enough play as well as much work.
Yeah, I think that goes for even couples who don't work together, right?
Couples who play together stay together.
That's right. So you guys, let's shift focus here just a little bit. I want to talk a little bit more about your business and what you do. And I guess one of my burning questions for you is a personal one. So for years, I have eaten healthy. I'm a healthy eater. I am very active. I have two different mountain paths that I either hike or walk on every day, depending on which path it is. And I've done like yoga, stretching, and that, and suddenly it's not working as well. And add to that, which I think a lot of menopausal women would say, is I'm noticing a lot of aches and pains that prohibit me from doing some of the more strenuous workouts. So what kind of advice do you give to a woman who's saying the things that I'm saying?
You want to go? Or
I'm sure Claire's the same. I mean, this is so common. I mean, there's a lot of hormonal things going on, which are a lot of physiological changes, which I'll let Claire talk to. The main thing we try and encourage men and women to do, though, is if you're not already, do start some form of resistance training. Because the main hormonal drive that's happening is like we're losing our muscle mass and our strength. Muscle is what we call metabolically active. The more muscle we have, the more calories we're burning, even at rest. So as we start to lose that muscle, of course, we tend to like the food in, energy in is staying the same, constant, but the metabolism, the rate which we're burning it off is going down. So we start to like put on extra fat because excess energy is stored as body fat. So it doesn't have to be going to a gym and pumping iron. It can be just, having something simple like some resistance bands, a kettlebell, spending like 20, 30 minutes twice a week. That would be enough to start making a difference, preserve that muscle mass. It helps with your bone density as well.
And there's ones on our YouTube channel. So the Midlife Mentors YouTube channel, if we go there, we've got lots of resistance workouts with kettlebells and bands.
It's just such an important thing, at midlife and beyond, because otherwise, we've all seen those people, in their like 80s, 90s in the nursing homes that, are frail and weak and can't get out of the chair. We want to make sure we don't end up in that place by starting to work, preserve the muscle mass that we have now and keep that bone density high. So resistance training, and it does make a big difference to so many clients. Like if you're doing other exercise, that's great. You should still be doing your cardio stuff, your mountain walks. You're eating healthy is great, but really adding that resistance training in will help with so many ways, and it even shown to help your brain health as well. So,
and we always say, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. So I know that lots of people have aches and pains, and it can actually stop them doing it. They need to find some forms of exercises, and bands are great for just a bit of resistance, but also being quite supportive. So resistance bands are really good for building up the strength, the ligaments, for the joints as well. One of the things I would say, just on the nutrition side, is, if you're eating there's so many things I could say about nutrition around midlife women, but one of the things is all of us are becoming more insulin resistant as we're aging, which obviously means we're less able to process the sugar in our blood system. So actually, if you're eating really high GI carbs late at night and a big meal, you're spiking your insulin, you're less able to process the sugar in your blood. What doesn't get used up, if you're having a big meal of high GI carb, potatoes, pasta, rice, all those sorts of things, you're going to bed with that. You're not using it up because carbs are used for energy. If you're not using it up, it gets stored as body fat. So making sure that you're not eating, don't not eat carbs, but front load them in the day. Eat good quality carbohydrates that are slow releasing, and also eat more protein. We see loads of people not eating enough protein. Protein triggers the hormone leptin, which is your I am full hormone. So making sure that you've got good quality protein for every single meal as well will keep you feeling fuller. It also helps with muscle repair.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. And I actually learned from you too, from listening to you, that insulin is a hormone. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
So we become less able to process insulin as we age. Is that how it works?
Yeah. Insulin essentially regulates our blood sugar levels. So when really simple terms, when we eat food, it's changed into sugars, which is carbohydrate energy, and we run off largely off carbohydrate energy. But as we become more insulin resistant, we're basically less able to effectively turn that energy we're taking in with food to energy available for us to use now. So it's more likely to be stored. So that's why the extreme end of insulin resistance is type 2 diabetes.
Yeah, and it's and then you add alcohol to the mix. So again, alcohol is mostly it's just pure sugar as well. So again, you're eating sugar's in everything as well. Sugar is the devil. I mean, it really, really is. If you need to be looking at anything on the back of packets, look at your sugar intake. So if you're eating,
I've noticed that, like, when they put something that's like fat free, quote unquote, you look at the sugar, and the sugar is always way higher.
Yeah, because when you take the fat out of something, it loses its taste. So you have to put sugar in it. So all these healthy bars that you see, these protein bars, most of them, a huge majority of them, are loaded with sugar. And again, that's the thing that it's been linked to depression as well. Anxiety, sugar's linked to anxiety, depression,
inflammation in the body,
inflammation in the gut, inflammation in the brain. So we really, really need to be careful about our sugar intake because we're becoming insulin resistant as well.
Okay. So that's one of the things you guys talk about, right? And I saw the 6 pillars. So nutrition, exercise, mental and emotional health was on there, I believe. Or I'm just paraphrasing them. I don't remember exactly what they were. I can put them in the show notes. But so this is kind of how you work with a client. And I know you have workshops as well. So tell us about some of the ways that you work with people.
Okay, so we have our program. So we have the original 8-week Midlife Method, which is a combination of everything you just talked about there. Basically, it's it's a movement plan, it's nutritional coaching.
Hormones.
We'll look at the impact of hormones and how to work with your body. We'll look at things like habits, self-belief, so the mental side, building emotional resilience, and there's accountability there. It's supported with private community, group calls every other week, and we're just on permanent hand to assist and help people. I've rolled out a program specifically for midlife men. It's a 12-week program called Rise, which just goes into so much more depth and uses more from my psychology and NLP toolkit as well to really embed and empower deep change, lasting change for people. So it's going to get you amazing physical results from the workouts and nutritional coaching, but it's about really shifting your mindset and stepping into that power of being that awakened man that can love and be open and be vulnerable, but it's still powerful and strong.
I love that. I just sit here listening to that, and I'm just sitting here grinning. So I'm just so proud.
Sometimes I wish these were video, because I love the look on your face when you're looking at him.
It's a beautiful thing. I think it's so needed. The program that James has put together with Rise, he's done the beta, has had amazing results. You're going to be launching it again in January, but I'm really, really proud because I know that men do find it really difficult, and they need a safe space. They need a safe pair of hands, basically, to take them through a process to become all that they can be. And men don't have that network like us women do at this age. They don't have the support, and it's really, really important what you're doing. And then we're also going to be doing a midlife relationship course. It'll be about a 21-day course that we're going to be launching in January. Again, we ran a workshop on that, and the response was phenomenal. But we're kind of tackling it not just from an emotional perspective, but actually bringing awareness about what's going on with your hormones, and even how nutrition helps, how exercise helps with your relationship. It's bringing a whole new perspective to marriage and relationships at midlife that you might not have thought about, that's affecting how you're showing up.
And then, of course, the other way is our in-person physical retreats are back in 2022. If the world is open, fingers crossed it will be. So in January we have our first one in Marbella. We've got one in January, one in February. They're just amazing immersive experiences. We only work with 10 clients at a time on those for a long weekend.
We go through our 6 pillars.
Yeah, basically it's like the program but condensed into a weekend. But obviously they're with you all the time. So we're really looking forward to getting those going. It's almost 2 years since we ran the last one here, for obvious reasons.
Yeah, we only got 3 or 4 spaces left on that now. So let's fingers crossed. But we love doing those. We get our energy off of people. So
if it's full by the time that this podcast airs, will you be doing another one soon after that?
One in February as well.
Okay.
There'll be more dates through the year. We just haven't planned them yet.
Great. Well, I will make sure that everybody has all that information in the show notes. I'll include any way that they can connect with you. You two are amazing. I loved our conversation today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here with me.
Oh, thank you, Terry. It's been lovely.
We've loved it. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation as much as I did. If you'd like to continue the conversation, come on over and join our private Facebook group, What Women Want Today. I'd love to hang out with you some more there. Any resources mentioned in today's episode will be in the show notes. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at What Women Want Today Podcast, or visit my website at whatwomenwanttoday.com. Please remember to subscribe, download, and share. Leave me a review. It helps other amazing women find the show and become a member of our community. One last thing for you today. You are not alone. You are worthy of love and a fulfilled life. Now it's time to go after it.